Bombardment from orbit risks collateral damage, so we need a more
Yikes. So, Dave Smith's recent take on Israel-Iran was fucking pretty wacky out there. It's basically a typical leftist narrative, but he's just added a few changes onto it, which just make the frame look absolutely fucking ridiculous for his argument. Like, the first was that it's just the typical leftist line that somehow Israel escalated or started the Iran-Israel war by directly bombing Iran. Like, that's just ridiculous. Then you've got the second, which was that somehow old Bibi betrayed Trump by striking Iran during the talks. The third was that, you know, somehow Iran is a trustworthy actor in all this, and is all legal, honest, and above board with its enrichment program, and Turkey is not a thing, and somehow we would know and have time to respond to Iran getting nukes, even though they, you know, employ Turkey, and from their current enrichment level, could probably get nukes pretty rapidly, like just putting everyone just under like a ton more pressure. And the fourth is just, you know, the general presupposition that they wouldn't immediately nuke Israel. You know, the same country they're attacking directly with rockets, and also attacking with five proxy terrorist groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the West Bank, and like some other Iraqi proxy, which is like launching drones at them, like legitimate five proxies, and like not even directly targeting military, by the way, targeting like directly civilians. This sane and reasonable Islamic State that's, you know, deliberately targeting Jewish civilians because they're civilians. Not because they're civilians, sorry, because they're Jewish. Mind you, they target a bunch of other civilians. They wouldn't nuke Israel for no reason. They're kind of already fucking doing as much damage to Israel through their proxies as they can. Like, there's no reason to suggest it wouldn't escalate immediately, but whatever. Anyway, we'll go through these sort of point by point. He also correctly makes the case that we only pick on countries that don't have nukes. Yeah, kinda. Nuclear deterrence is a thing, but if that is the case, it's fucking horrible in Iran's case, with like Iran's 10 plus terrorist proxies that kill minorities everywhere. Yazidis, Kurds, Christians, Jews, just all the minorities their terrorist proxies can get their hands on. And like Iran is like the largest state funder of terrorism. Like he made like some sort of derisive point about that. $700 million a year towards terrorism. And then he also implied somehow that the US was the second or something, the second biggest funder. No, it's Syria, then Saudis, then Qatar. They're all Islamic states. They're not like the US isn't there. Like, there's no case to be made there. It's just it's fucking ridiculous. But like the point is that now, without nuclear weapons, it's literally spending $700 million a year training, funding, arming 10 plus terrorist proxies to kill civilians abroad, to inflict terror, and they should be allowed nuclear weapons. Like, you really want to make it so you cannot directly attack the number one state sponsor of terrorism, Iran, directly, without escalating to nuclear war, while it kills civilians, Christians, Jews, Yazidis, Kurds, the whole lot, Alawites, with all their various Talibans and Hamases and Palestinian authorities and militias in Iraq and like Africa. You really want to make it so they've got nuclear response to you attacking them directly in order to stop their terrorism abroad. Like, the idea is just stupid in its practicality, as if that would in any way create any sense of stability globally. Like, no. No, it wouldn't. But, like, anyway, alright, so his framing is insane, but let's take them in order, like, just point by point. The first was sort of the claim, insinuation, presupposition that somehow Israel escalated by directly attacking Iran. It just completely ignores everything. It completely ignores Iran is the largest single state sponsor of terrorism. $700 million a year. Has 10 plus proxies. All those proxies attack and kill civilians. Mostly Christians. 5 of the proxies, 5 of them are currently attacking Israel. What were they? I ran through the list before. Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the West Bank, directly attacking civilians. Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah, and Iraqi militias that launch drones. Literally have 5 terrorist proxies attacking Israel. In addition to that, you've got Iran also launching rockets directly targeting civilians. Like, as if that in itself is not an escalation to war. As if Israel striking Iran directly in response to that is an escalation to war. Like, it's like a stupid cunt leftist idea that the West and Israel in general shouldn't respond at all to direct, deliberate attacks on Western and Israeli civilians by Islamic terrorist states through terrorist proxies. It's just a stupid fucking weak idea that we shouldn't respond to that. Like, it's already direct incitement to war, directly attacking civilians. Like, obviously, an attack of a state's civilians is a direct incitement to war. How has Israel escalated this at all? Like, it's just the stupidest fucking idea. It is just this leftist continuation of this prescribed weakness in the face of deliberate, malevolent evil. And it's just going to make things get worse. Like, it is worse than weakness. Like, we're assuming here that this leftist repressive tolerance of Islamic terror is based on white guilt. Like, that's the best interpretation we have for their motives. It's probably not that. It's probably a deliberate a deliberate attempt to escalate internal revolution within the country by increasing the frictions between different groups in a society, right? It is straight up direct, like, policy targeted towards increasing leftist terrorism in order for a revolution. It is the worst fucking idea. It's the worst policy. It's the worst international relations policy you could have. And if it's the latter of those, it's not just like evil and stupid, like it obviously is evil and stupid. If it's the latter of those, it's also suicidal, because it will like play out pretty much exactly like how the leftist involvement in the Iranian Revolution played out, and that is all the leftists were killed and repressed by the Muslims after the revolution, even though they helped incite the revolution. That they're trying to inflict this on Western society and the same thing will play out, it's just basically handing the Western society to the Muslims. It's fucking retarded. The whole thing is fucking stupid. The second claim that somehow Bibi interrupted successful negotiations with Iran that would have led to peace. No, like, first we would have to assume Iran is like a good faith actor and is not funding global terrorist massacres of Christians and other minorities with its 10 plus terrorist proxies. To assume it's not doing that would be a silly assumption to make. Next, during the negotiation, Trump basically gave them an ultimatum. if you give someone an ultimatum during a negotiation, it kind of means negotiations are pretty much done. If they then ignore the ultimatum, disrespect you by calling your bluff, letting the time frame on your ultimatum run out, effectively emasculating you and expecting no response for not responding to the ultimatum, it means you're not negotiating with a party that understands their position or wants to come to an agreement. Like, if, for example, let's just say, on day 61 of the 60-day ultimatum, Bibi and Israel then decides to completely decapitate Iran's leadership, leaving Khamenei in fear for his life in a bunker. It doesn't look like Bibi betrayed Trump. It looks to me like Trump cutting loose Bibi were the consequences of the ultimatum. None of that looks to me like a betrayal of Trump by Bibi. Like, I think you got to be dishonest to interpret it that way and frame it that way. It looks a lot to me like Trump just unleashing Bibi when his ultimatum was ignored by Iran, who weren't interested in peace or, you know, not getting a nuclear weapon because they're a fucking bad actor. Because they've got like 10 plus terrorist proxies that attack civilians globally. And like the next point is just the presupposition that any Muslim nation, like dealing with any Muslim nation in like Iran in this instance, would in any way be like reasonable, like they would anyway be a good actor. Like, of course not. Of course they're not going to be a good actor. Like, taqiyya is a thing. Like, taqiyya during wartime is a thing, and they are constantly at war with any nation that is not Islamic because they want to conquer and make everything Islamic. Like, the idea that any Muslim nation dealing with any non-Muslim nation can be honest and honorable in a deal with concepts like taqiyya in Islam is ridiculous. Like, moreover, treating them like that they will be honest to their word in with this concept there, concepts like this, when they're like deliberately escalating to war with their 10 plus terrorist proxies that attack civilians directly, like, that's just fucking naive. Like, how stupid and blind are you to Islam and the threat of Islam if you think Iran is going to be a good actor when it has nuclear weapons? Like, nuclear deterrence is basically a get out of jail free card for any other nation trying to invade you, right? If you're a terrorist state that is fucking globally with other nations, with 10 plus terrorist proxy groups killing civilians in other nations, deliberately trying to incite war, if you allow said terrorist nation to get nuclear weapons to then be impervious to invasion from without, you have just created an eternal, never-ending terrorist problem. Like, that would just be fucking atrocious for world peace and world stability. You've created a never-ending terrorist problem. It's just so stupid. Like, giving Iran the state defensive stability of nuclear deterrence is obviously a bad idea. Anyone arguing for that, like, the assumption there is that they will then be peaceful if they then have nuclear deterrence. No. If anything, they'll be fucking worse, actually, because they'll, with impunity, be able to inflict terrorism globally without worry of escalation that could destabilize them and invade them from without. They would be a constant regime, keep their Iranian people under their finger. Any like bombing from Israel or anyone in order to try to reduce the amount of terrorism inflicted upon them would then be liable to reprisal with nuclear weapons. And all of this is assuming they maintain a defensive posture, which, let's be honest, you can't assume that. They may just take an aggressive posture and fucking nuke Israel directly. They are, after all, attacking them with 5 fucking terrorist proxies. They're civilians directly with 5 terrorist proxies right now. And just in case they want to play stupid as to what terrorist proxies they are, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Houthis, Hezbollah, and Iraqi militias. Not that it really matters, because they've also launched rockets at them directly, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And like, worse, right? Because that... Alright, so you've given them nukes, they're impervious to invasion from without. They're still inflicting global terrorism because they want to spread Islam with terror. How then do you deal with that nation, that terrorist state, $700 million to terrorism yearly, with more than 10 terrorist proxies? How do you then deal with a nuclear-armed terrorist state? Well, you have to nuclear blitzkrieg them if you want to take them out. So congratulations, you've just made fucking the... What's the term? The arms race? You've just made the arms race significantly more desperate for every non-Muslim nation in the world. You want to talk about nuclear proliferation? Give Islam nukes and watch the number of the nukes in the world grow. And you can tell this because they use their terrorist proxies now to attack nuclear states. That's not gonna stop. They're not worried about that. They're not worried about nuclear reprisal with their terrorist proxies. They think they have the plausible deniability. If one of their terrorist proxies kills like 60 to 100 people in another country, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. They think they have plausible deniability to say, oh no, that was just a terrorist proxy, that's not us. Meanwhile, said terrorist proxy was trained, armed, and funded by them. That might as well have been them. You want to give this terrorist state nuclear weapons, do you? You think that will be good for global stability, do you? No! Obviously not. What is this stupid fucking argument? Like, they're painful enough to deal with at the moment. Trump had complete force superiority over them, and they ignored his ultimatum because they are borderline religiously suicidal. You want to then give them the power of nuclear weapons and then try to negotiate with them? Within concepts like Turkey, assuming they're not even using Turkey, which obviously they would use, because they're bad actors. Like, oh, what's the fucking logic here? And obviously there's like, you let Iran get a nuke, it's like fucking 50-50 whether or not they fucking nuke Israel immediately. They are, after all, attacking them with 5 terrorist proxies, as if that hasn't been said, because it is ignored by fucking leftists. Like, they're obviously a bad actor, and they're not stable. Like, even Pakistan having nukes is an awful idea. When Pakistan got nukes, they gave North Korea the nuclear bomb technology. Then North Korea had nukes. You gave one Islamic country nukes, they armed North Korea with nukes. It should be fucking obvious. Don't give Islamic countries nuclear weapons. They are fucking stupid and evil. All of them. All of them are bad actors globally. Global terrorism, 80% of it is Islamic. They fucking kill Christian minorities, fucking pretty much any minorities, in every single one of their countries. Yazidis, Druze, Alawites, Christians, Jews, anyone not Islamic. Forced conversion or killed, or soft ethnically cleansed. For example, Christians aren't allowed to build churches in Islamic countries. They face extrajudicial killings in Islamic countries for no reason. Things like this. Like, what is this weakness to Like, leftists can't see it. And it's suicidal for them to not see it. The last time they tried to ally with Islam in order to achieve revolution was the Islamic Revolution. Once the Islamic people took charge, they violently repressed every fucking leftist that assisted with the revolution. They fucking killed them, right? And it was like between 1,000 and 3,000 of them. And, like, didn't stop at just killing them. Like, killed them, then repressed them. Force converted them to Islam, all that stupid shit. Imprisoned the other leftists as well. And then after that, there was another purge during the Iran-Iraq war because they had a bunch of leftists left over in prison. But there was like 2 lots of massive killings of leftists when leftists sided with Islam with the intent of bringing about some sort of revolution to more secular forces. It's just like, they're fucking suicidal. They're suicidal to a man. Their thought process is just silly. Like, all of this is just because US bad. US tricked into regime change in Iraq. That bad. Like, they're basically putting all the deaths of the Christians after the regime change in Iraq, because after the regime change in Iraq, ISIS and Taliban basically took over Iraq and then started persecuting the fuck out of Christians, killed like nearly 1 million Christians. That is not on the US. Like, obviously, that's on ISIS and the Taliban. Like, they can never seem to properly attribute responsibility to Islamic terrorists and Islam. Forces that kill Christians and all that sort of shit. Fair enough. Israel may have helped trick the US into like regime change in Iraq in the America-Iraq war. Okay, fair enough. What was Iraq doing at the time? Well, it was semi-secular, still persecuted Christians under Saddam. Why did Israel want fucking Iraq taken care of? Because they were backing the Palestinians. Okay, what were the Palestinians doing at the time? At the time, it was the Second Intifada. They were using child suicide bombs to fucking kill Israeli civilians. Okay, sounds like Islam's pretty much trash wherever it goes. Oh, but the big win here, the big point is, Iraq wasn't involved with fucking September 11, wasn't involved directly with the terrorist attack that targeted the US. So, what do you think's gonna happen in the future when the US is in conflict with these fucking countries again? Because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. The US is just gonna get sick of them fucking killing Christians in their countries, or they're gonna do more global terrorism, especially if Iran gets a fucking nuclear bomb. Like, the end game is always going to be a confrontation with Islam, between the US and Islam. Like, what is this argument here that, oh, if only we could have peace, it would be a long-standing good peace, we would never have to get involved with regime change wars or whatever. If only we left the Islamic countries to do whatever that it is they do, we would be fine. No, what Islamic countries tend to do when you leave them alone is kill their minorities, so they are Islamic majority. What does that mean? That means mass killings of minorities. Christians, Yazidis, Druze, the whole lot. They're just gonna keep killing them until they're Islamic majority, then they're gonna elect radical fucking Islamist terrorist governments that are gonna globally fund terrorism, and they're gonna spread the intifada. Spread it like a fucking disease. The idea that if only the US wasn't involved in these wars, everything would be fine. No. What? No. If the US wasn't involved in these places, it'd fucking very likely be worse. Like, very likely they just, form radical Islamic majority countries oppress everyone else, oppress even the Islamic people in those countries, and then have corrupt terrorist governments, corrupt radical terrorist governments like Iran, and then they'd push for nuclear weapons so they were stable from invasion from without, and then from within would fund global terrorism to spread more Islam. Like, you're just ignoring a problem if you say, oh, the US shouldn't have any fucking dealing with any of these countries ever. Like, at one stage I used to think that the Chinese ethnically cleansing the Jews, sterilizing them, killing them, putting them in camps and all that sort of thing was just evil. I used to think it was just fucking evil. The Jews didn't do anything, they're fucking not going to do anything in the future, yada yada yada. The more I learn about Islam, the 900 million child brides since 1900, mass pedophilic rape, fucking the slavery of those countries, the two-tier status of Christians and other minorities in these countries, the extra taxation, the extrajudicial killings, just the killings. 35 Christians a day are killed in these places. The more I look at it, and the more I look at the Chinese Communist Party just saying, alright, fuck it, just put them in camps. Like, it's a brutal solution. It's not good. They're probably innocent people. But the more I look at it, it's just like a brutal authoritarian blunt attempt to deal with Islam spreading under communism, so communism can attempt to like maintain its control over its people. The more it makes sense to me. I thought it was just brutal and unnecessary, but like, if you look at Europe now, like a month ago it was like a fucking car attack a week in like Europe, Britain, whatever. There was even one in America, and America doesn't even have that big of a Muslim population. Just the spreading of terrorism in these places is like fucked. And people look at it and say, oh, it's only a couple of terrorist attacks a year. Those terrorist attacks affect probably 1,000 people. Like, what? Let's say 30 victims, and then you've got all the people that see it are victims, all the people that hear about it are terrified of Islam now, terrified of being terrorist attacked as well. You've got all the first responders seeing the gore of it, you've got all the passerbys, you've got all the families of the first responders, you've got the families of the victims, you've got everyone, right? It is horrible. It spreads to thousands of people, then it's like amplified on the news, but the news tries to fucking ignore it because, you know, mass immigration, right? Good for economy, even though it's not good for economy. And then you've got China with the blunt solution of, oh fuck it, we'll just sterilize them all and put them in camps. We don't want the Islamic population growing in our country because it's, you know, counterproductive to communism. And then on the flip side to that, you've got the liberal, overly tolerant West saying, oh no, we'll just bring all the Islamic people in. You've got Albanese saying, oh, we'll bring 27,000 of from Afghanistan in. Oh, they all want Sharia? Oh, that's going to be a weird demographic in the voting bloc, isn't it? Especially when you've got leftists. Like, there was a leftist Greenie senator recently that wanted to grant asylum to Khamenei, the fucking Iranian dictator who was responsible for 150 fucking global terrorist plots. Like, and they're like happy living peacefully in a Western country, and they're like, let's offer asylum to the head of radical Islamism globally, and the person most responsible for the largest amount of Islamic terrorism globally, with $700 million a year from his country going to Islamic terrorism with 10 plus terrorist proxies. We should be hanging that senator for treason, for the thought of offering asylum to Khamenei. Like, but we're not. We're like suicidally tolerant of Islam. Like, it is insane to me that that's happening, right? It would be better for the world if Israel managed to kill Khamenei within the next, let's say, month. it would be good. The odds are Israel probably will be able to kill Khomeini in the next month. After all, didn't they kill everyone else? Sinwar, all of Hezbollah's leadership, all of the Houthi leadership. I'm not actually sure if they got all of the Houthi leadership. I know they got a decent chunk of the Houthi leadership, but they managed to kill like all of the Hamas leadership pretty much. So they got them, and then I'm pretty sure it was the Hezbollah leadership. And then they blew the nuts off a bunch of people with the pager attack. And now they've pretty much decapitated Iran with all of its leadership, top guys, first generation of top guys taken out. Now we're up to the B team in Iran. And Khomeini's in hiding, and he's passed off leadership to the next guy, who's probably going to get killed. And then, yeah, like, Khomeini's probably next on the list, even though he's only really a symbolic figurehead at this point in time. He's not exactly, yeah. But the argument is, they're just retarded. Like, Iran getting taken out as a world power and possibly reforming as a more secular state, that would be a good thing. Saudi Arabia is still a fucking bit of a problem. They're just way less of a problem than radical Islamists because they're more secular Islamists. But they still fund a shitload of fucking terrorism and shit globally. Just not as much as Iran does. But, you know, baby steps. If we can make the Muslim world less suicidal and less violent, like, that's a good thing. Like, steps taken towards that are good. But just these fucking leftists with their stupid arguments. It's like the only thing they have ever seen, or the first thing they've seen, is Israel through AIPAC getting the US involved in the Iraq war. That's like the only thing they've seen, and from there they've started a confirmation bias on Jews bad and US silly for getting involved in war. But they've never seen any they haven't seen Iran-Iraq war, where you had two Muslim powers slugging it out and it was absolutely horrible, and they just can't seem to see any Muslim atrocity whatsoever. It's just wild. It's just wild to me.
Impressive yield. No Xenos bioscans. Mission successful, Talassa.